Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream. Today, Ron Nicoletti along with Ashley Mayu. We're going to start the day with a fast track, a firm turf course. But Ashley, a day of remembrance, the 20th anniversary of all those folks that lost their lives in 9/11.
Yeah, it's 20 years ago now to the day. It's just crazy. 9/11 was just a sad day in our history, and many lives were lost, and I know it affected a lot of families and all of that.
A lot of brave people, too, on Flight 93, so we'll be remember them a little later on this afternoon. Just wanted to put that out there. Fast main track, firm turf course this afternoon. Should be a great day of racing. Mandatory payout in the Rainbow Six. And we've been joking the last couple of days. I try and guess how much is in the pool. I've been wrong for 15 years now, so maybe one day I'll get it. But the best part is you got a chance to take it down today. Whoever has the most winners gets a chance to steal it.
I'm excited to see if you had to dig another coffee can out of your backyard to put some more money into your ticket today.
Getting low in the backyard. I'm going to go to instant packs now there pretty soon and bury those. Well, with that said, we've taken care of everything that we're going to take care of early on in the show. We got that fast main track firm turf course. Always great day when we start the day with the 2-year-olds on the grass, and you got an early pick 5 ticket.
Yeah, definitely an exciting way to start off this early pick 5 and kind of looking at the sequence. I go 3 deep in here. Use a bit of a price underneath, but I thought maybe you could win in here based on the pedigree. The number 4, Grand Sir. Also use the number 6, War Strategy, and the 8, Blind Eye. Race 2, just 2 deep in there. I was torn between the number 6, Guaco, and the 3, Excalibur, so I used both of them. Race 3, I go 2 deep in this race. This is another 2-year-old race for fillies on the main track. I go to the 2 on the inside, Strategy Queen for Saffy Joseph Jr., and the 2, Chestnut Checkers. Race 4. 2 again. I used the number 8 on top. Bronx looks pretty hard to beat, but the horse to his inside, the Antonio Sano trainee, looks maybe interesting in here. So he's 5-1 on the morning line. And then to wrap things up, if I can survive this long, I have 3 to wrap it up. And this is our first of 2 stakes races on the day. I'll use the number 4, Kahiko, the 6, Submarine, who's got a ton of class, as well as the number 7, Kelsey's Cross for Patrick Biancone. I feel like the barn's been pretty hot lately, so wanted to use that one. And as always, or mainly always, $36 play for me.
$36 play, but the day after she hits one, she usually goes up to 48 or something like that. So she's very easy to track. So she didn't hit yesterday, but she's got a good chance today. It's a pretty nice ticket. Getting into this first race, you know, I picked War Strategy. I don't know who you picked on top, but I want to go back and show you the horse that's run already. We both have in second, Blind Eye. This one comes, I thought, a really rock solid debut, number 2 horse that day. So we'll pick this up, and I just thought this was one of those good performances. The turf course looking good. Number 2 horse in there, Blind Eye, 8-1 in this day. And I just thought was so game in here. Just, fought right to the bitter end. Thought it was a really good performance by this horse. Because certainly a learning lesson.
Yeah, it was certainly a good performance for debut that was going a mile, and today just kind of cutting back to 7.5. I don't think it should be a problem at all. And I think when you look at this field, we go with a horse that doesn't have race day experience, and several runners don't in here. So when I see a horse out of the horses that have raced, he's probably the best on paper in that regard.
With that said, I saw Warfront. That's where I'm going. War Strategy in here. Beautifully bred, Wrigley bred son of Warfront, debuting from Mark Cassie, who leads all trainers still with 9 freshman winners from 49 starters, 23%. Does a great job when Edwin Gonzalez does a great job when he rides for Mark. So beautifully bred horse.
Yeah, you mentioned the Mark Cassie barn and how well they've been doing. I do have a trainer stat here to show for Mark Cassie. Specifically, I wanted to look at 2-year-old first-time starters at Gulfstream because this number's changed a lot. Looking at the past 6 months, 8 for 29, 28%. 16 for 29 in the money, 55% with $1.88 ROI. We mentioned Edwin Gonzalez in the irons, dangerous combo, and this one's just very well bred.
Well, I like that. That's over the last 6 months, so I like that. Still up there at 28%, so really good stat there. Then we dip for a little bit when we go to the other horses, and that's the beauty of this first race. You have that little bit of a long shot in there with the number 4 horse, who I used a little further down. And what about number 3, Harry's on the Beach? He's a half-brother to that local stakes winner. Harry's on the Loose. He's eligible to show more. He sort of had a slow start. He finished second at this level and distance for Herman Walensky, who was the trainer of Harry's on the Loose throughout its career until he got claimed and won that stake. Jesus Rios in the saddle.
Yeah, it was torn between these. I went with the better price, just looking at Grand Sir being a first-time starter and looking at the half-siblings in the tree. A nice half-sibling to Colonel Liam, so I didn't need to introduce that one. But Harry's on the Beach was a pretty strong debut overall. It was a compact field of 8. The thing that stood out to me was not only was he second, but the winner, See My Meister, was a horse that we've been looking forward to see that return to the races. Pretty nice in that performance.
Yeah, Colonel Liam, you don't have to mention that. That's one of my favorite turf horses. So half to that. And that might be the key. You start looking at the breeding in this race. You know, we are both enamored with Warfront, but there's some really nice bred horses in race number 1. Going to race number 2, it's a mile claimer on the fast main track. 3 or 4 and ups, that non-winners of 3 in life. And you went with the number 6 horse in here, Guaco, on top of your ticket for Paul Cope, who's 23% with some of his horses.
He was interesting last time out because they cut him back to 5.5 furlongs, and kind of looking at his races at a mile, they actually had him right in there. He was able to make up some ground, but was simply second best behind Handsome Prince. Now he's going back to the mile. I thought the effort 2 starts back was a pretty game one. I know he's defeated by a length and a quarter, but he was still trying in there and fighting back. So for me, I thought it was this one or the horse they used on top, Excalibur, but I always say this. I might be a woman scorned when it comes to Excalibur, who's finished second for me one too many times.
Well, changing barns today, going to the Carlos David barn. The gelding looks to get away for trouble-free. He always seems to find trouble, this horse. Broke awkwardly and finished 5th at this level and distance, but the barn, first in their barn, is pretty good.
Yeah, the barn is the big angle here, and we do have a trainer stat. I got 3 in a row today. That's another one to show for Carlos David. Just looking at first off the trainer switch the past year, 36%, 71% in the money with a $4.44 ROI. So the trainer is a huge thing, but I think watching his races, I don't know if he hangs or he's just got like a short kind of momentum to him when he's called upon. He's got a short burst, and that's it. And I think with a rider like Edwin Gonzalez, I think he's going to get the most that he can out of this horse, and maybe that's going to be another factor of turning the way he's been going around.
Gee, only 36%, huh?
Only.
And what about the number? I used the number 8, used a little further down at second, Bold Envoy, who drops to the 6,250 level. Return from the layoff for Orbe Mirage and failed to get untracked against 20 claimers. Going 6. It's just a drop, simple as that. I thought this horse could run okay.
Yeah, he's dropping. I used him further back just because I think in his last 2, I know there's a big layoff in between. He's just been flat in both of them, so he hasn't really beaten anything except for 2 runners total in those last 2. But class relief should help him. I'm just going to take a wait-and-see approach, though.
Race 3 this afternoon, another 5.5 furlong sprint. These are Maiden claiming filly 2-year-olds, $50,000. One scratch in here of the number 6. Not a lot of scratches on this afternoon's card as we go through it. Of course, Pete Aiello will be up in a little while to give you update you on all the scratches you need, especially in that Rainbow 6 this afternoon. We have our exacta flip-flop. We'll start with you, Strategy Queen, who's dropping to the 50 level today. Finished that slow starting 4th. You know, good. It's Safi Joseph Jr. This is his game, second start.
Exactly. I think his horses typically, especially his 2-year-olds, need that race, maybe 2. But in her case, I thought it was an okay performance. The winner, Devilette for Daniel Pete, I thought ran pretty nicely in the Florida Sire Stakes the next time out. Workouts seem good. You mentioned Safi second time out, 24%. Edwin Gonzalez climbing aboard for the first time. They're 32% here at Gulfstream Park. And I just want to show a trainer stat here. I mentioned Maiden's second time out, but there's another angle to consider here. This one raced in a maiden special weight event last time out. So looking at maiden special weight competition to the maiden claiming drop there. 14 for 42 the past 2 years, 33%, 60% in the money with a $1.84 ROI.
Yeah, we only give stats here that are over 30%, but we don't use them in here. I went with the 2 Chestnut Checkers, who's turning back to the distance of 5.5 today after breaking from the outside, dueling for lead and settling for second, going 3/4. For Dave Braddy, second time blinkers, daughter of a Stern. I just thought it was, these 2. The race went through these 2, and we both had rapturous. In third, Kathleen Cantharos. I like that combination.
Yeah, and this one was a $60,000 purchase at OBS just a few months ago. I think there was a scratch in here of the number 6, Maya Fair, so this one kind of bumped up rapturous for us. But Luca Panici in the saddle, another kind of pair and combo to watch here at Gulfstream.
Going to race 4, we're going to sprint at 7 furlongs. Maiden claim is 3 and up, 12-5. A full field of 10 runners. We both went with the number 8 Bronx. Let's go back and show you this horse. First, we're going to show you the pan of this horse, 3/16 home. And you're going to see the number 10 Bronx that afternoon. Sort of gets floated out in the stretch here and finishes really good second in the race. And you can see just gets floated out. So I also wanted to show the pan because I think you could see a little bit more on the pan shot when you're looking at this. It just seems at the end there that number 10 Bronx game performance last time out, squashed between those 2 horses. So, and here it is. You just see it. It's more, pinpointed. Yeah, you see just how it happens out. So good job by Bob upstairs highlighting those horses in the stretch.
Yeah, I look at the performance from him. I think it's good. I mean, when it says ahead, it was pretty close at the wire. I wasn't sure if Bono got up in there. I needed him to get up. That's why I remember this. And I think Bronx, it was a good performance, dead heated with Dr. Roger, now second time out. Gilberto Zerpa, 29%. Amisael staying back in the irons. A lot to like about him. He is the one to beat on paper.
Almost looked like one of those triple dead heats that we haven't had in a long, long time. But you were right when you were talking about your early ticket. I got some interest, and you do too, in the 7, Tintorero, who's cutting back to 7/8 of a mile. Surrendered that late lead to be second last time out for Antonio Sano.
It was like a wake-up call. I think in his last 2, he's actually improved from what we had seen before that. He was getting defeated by double digits. 6 furlongs to the mile stretch out. They changed the strategy. They had him involved earlier on in the race, and I think that's key because typically he's been too far out of it. Gadiel Martinez and Antonio Sano. No, it's his 11%, but I feel like that's one of his go-to riders here, and they've been pretty good the last couple weeks.
Yeah, Antonio, you never know when he's going to jump up and win a whole bunch of races here. Let's go to the 5th race, our first of 2 stakes races on the afternoon. 1 mile on the turf. Fillies and Master 3-year-olds and up. It's the North Bay Village, and we both went with number 6 Summering, who's turning back to the mile. First start since weakening through the lane to finish third. That was in the $75,000 Ginger Punch back in June. Warfront, daughter of Warfront for Tommy Proctor.
Yeah, she only has that 1 start here, and that was that most recent effort. But prior to that, we saw her in the Grade 2 Yellow Ribbon out at Del Mar last summer. I know she finished 6th in there, but she was only beaten by 2.5. She came back after the layoff to win at Tampa in that $100,000 distaff turf race. So, she has talent. Yeah, it's going to be only her 3rd start on the year, though. She's had a break, but look at those workouts. She's had some nice workouts at Palm Meadows on the turf and on the dirt.
Well, the number 4, Kahiko, is wheeling back in just 7 days, looking to post her 3rd consecutive victory and her 5th victory in the last 6 starts for Ken Sweezy. I don't think it's something he does all the time, but this horse must be going good because Ken's an excellent horseman.
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time he said he's done it. I see the stat here, he's 1 for 4, but I've never really seen this from that barn. You mentioned she's just been fantastic this year, 4 for 6. Certainly has turned it around since joining the Kent Sweezy barn, and she's she's gritty in the end. I think in some of her races where she's had to win, she's had to kind of overcome a troubled trip. Last time out, she was just kind of the best in there and was able to get up in time. So quick turnaround's the only question I have.
Yeah, this horse has been going great guns. Number 5, Mo of the West, you had a little further down on your ticket, who's a multiple stakes place daughter of Uncle Mo, going back to the grass, showed speed and retreated to finish 5th. That was the Monroe Stakes, which was moved from the turf to the main track. It's Mark Cassie. Horse has got some back class. Christian Torres in the saddle.
Yeah, looking at this one last year, broke the maiden, won again, then had a troubled trip, and then, 3 out of 4 races in a row was a winner. Form hasn't been quite up to that, but has been in stakes races, and so we know the competition that she's faced. I certainly think she can improve, and we can draw a line through the Monroe when it was on the main track.
And what about Kelsey's Cross?
Kelsey's Cross, I feel like I've always been a fangirl of. This is a horse that has a ton of backlash. She's made $320,000 in her career, but she was racing in Grade 2, Grade 3 competition. It was a while since she's won, and then 2 starts back, she was able to get that confidence boost of a victory. Last time out, though, she didn't perform too well, so I'm curious to see how she'll do off the bench. But I mentioned the barn, has just been doing really well the last maybe month or so.
Yeah, and I threw in the 1 Japuti Kaba. 1 because I like saying Japuti Kaba, and the second one has speed, and if this one gets loose on the front end, can certainly be a danger in there, but it's been stopping you recently. Easy for me to say. 6th race this afternoon, 6 furlongs allowance, optional claimer 3 and up, the optional tag $35,000. A pretty nice race here for race number 6, and you went with the number 2 Cajun Brother. Boy, I was torn in this race. I kept wanting to put Cajun Brother on top, and I backed off. Tell me why you did.
Well, Cajun Brother was entered here maybe a week or 2 ago and was scratched out of that race, and I think this is a softer spot for this son of Cajun Breeze. Last time out was in that overnight handicap. It was the first start off the long layoff, and it was on the turf, so I think he maybe has an excuse there. That was his first turf race in his career, and prior to that, he had a win earlier this year already in a $100,000 stakes race. He was 3rd in the Gulfstream Park Sprint behind Mischievous Alex and Frosted Gray, so I think for him, this is a spot where I know he's in for the $35,000 tag, but he's talented.
Yeah, he really classes up perfectly in that spot. Like I said, I was torn. I did go with the number 6. Silvery enough was dropping back to the $35,000 level. Stepped up off the claim by Safi Joseph and finished the late closing 5th behind a hard-knocking, well-defined in the $100,000 Benny the Bull. Edgar Zayas looks like a logical spot for this horse, too, getting that class relief today. They claimed this horse, so second in his barn in a logical spot.
And it's hard to ignore a horse that's 14 for 19 in the money in the career, 5 wins from 11 at the distance. And even when you look at the Benny the Bull, and this is going to be a drop in class, the 7/8 distance, I still think it was an okay race. He only missed by 2.5. He was facing some very tough horses and actually did make a mild move in the stretch. So now second off the claim. This is a good angle for the barn. I know this is just as strong as about first off the claim. So this, to me, is another big contender even for the win honors.
Yeah, I used front-loaded. I had this one pretty highly rated. Goes to the Jorge Delgado barn after the claim. Turns back to the distance of 6 furlongs today. Dual Fleet finished third against those optional claimers going 6.5. We know how good the barn is with recent claims, about 28% or thereabout. Got Chantal, who's just been riding in great form. What I liked about this horse, a 9-time local winner, just a hard-knocking campaigner.
Yeah, 9 of the 10 career wins that you mentioned have been here over the main track. My only concern about front loaded, I know it's, first off the claim for Jorge Delgado, but when you look at the 7-year-old gelding, he's been claimed a lot the last 2 years, and look at the barns that have claimed them. They've all been pretty good first off the claim, so I don't know how much of an upgrade it's going to be from the previous connections because Bob Hess Jr. does great work. And the only other thing I will say, silverly enough, when they faced off, you can see bolded twice there, has beaten front loaded on several occasions.
Yeah, well, we'll see if you can do it again today. Well, I got him in second, so, and what about Breeze on by quickly?
I'm going to use Breeze on by for Ralph Nix. Disappointed last time out. That was back in March, but prior to that, talk about the 2-year-old campaign. This one was a really nice one, a 3-win race win streak, and just couldn't do it in the final stakes of the Florida Sire Stakes. Maybe part of that was the off track on that day, but was second best. 3 for 5 in the career. He's made $300,000. We'll see what he can do.
Ridden by Sammy Camacho this afternoon. MSCL Jaramillo not riding the number 7 horse. And yeah, we're going to take a quick break, come back and have my Rainbow 6 ticket on mandatory payout day.
And they're off. Second in the 2-path. Round off first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. It's last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back. Gulfstream today, Ron and Ashley, and mandatory payout in the Rainbow 6. If you haven't heard, we'll be telling you all afternoon exactly about that. A mile on the turf is where it starts. Let's look at my tickets. $76.80. I'm so used to saying 40. Stepped it up. Actually hit the Rainbow 6 yesterday for $48. Got 600 back. So I figure I dug up another coffee can. I went too deep in here. I really like the number 8 Free Data and the number 1 Maria's Revenge. I got some coverage in race number 8. And, in the stakes races, I know a lot of people in race number 11 are going to single, Sound Machine. I like a couple other horses in there. I think I can get a little bit of a price, $76.80 for me.
Kind of want to go like this right now. Those people singling Sound Machine might be me in the late pick 4 today. But no, I think we're pretty much in agreement in a lot of these races. I think that's the one that we differ. I made a stand there. I'm going with Sound Machine.
Yeah, getting back to this 7th race, a mile on the turf, maiden special weight, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. This might be the toughest one to get out of. I mean, we both use Free Data on top of our tickets. A beautifully bred daughter of Warfront, working sharply in preparation first start. What I liked about this horse ran pretty good 4th, going a mile on the turf. I think it's a perfect setup. Tommy Proctor, you're getting Kaibar Koa in the saddle today, and those works just jump off the page at you.
Yeah, the 2 bullets, you can see them, and there's even been ones earlier before our last race that actually drilled her right before that race on August 6th. But, I mean, I think the big thing with her is she's really been consistent. I mean, she's done nothing wrong. Last time out, she was on the lead late, and she just tired in that race going a mile on the turf. But for me, I look at that. She went 5 furlongs on the turf, a mile on the dirt. It was her first time going a mile on the turf. Maybe she tired in there, and I just think this is She is probably one of the tougher ones in here, but you mentioned it's probably hard to get out of this race. So I know there's a couple other horses we both like.
Yeah, number 1, Maria's Revenge. We're going to go back and show you this horse's last race. We're going to pick it up from the top of the lane to the wire when Maria's Revenge closes from last, and you're going to see her all the way back there. And she actually finishes third in front of Free Data that afternoon. And here she comes. I just thought it was a good performance. Well, where is she? Oh, there she's coming. There she just comes flying late. She just and if you listen to Pete's call, he just, so here she comes. She really turned on the afterburners, and I thought it was a pretty good race. And Murat Sankal has Edgar Zayas handling the rematch today with Free Data.
She's the one that I thought about using on top in here. I mean, you look at her races earlier this year. One was here at Gulfstream Park. Then they sent her to Keeneland. Competition obviously tough there and tough during the championship meet here. And then in a return to the races, first off the layoff, it was scheduled for the turf, moved to the main track. That wasn't ideal. So I really like what I saw last time out. And now I think kind of that second turf race off the layoff might be the key thing to point out.
And you used Chica Boom, I think, in third?
Yeah, use Chica Boom, the number 7 in here. Ruben Gracita is the trainer, is having a great meet from a limited number here. 5 wins for 19 runners in total. This one was third last time out, going 7.5, was facing that maiden special weight competition. That was against State Bred. You know, there's been some good races. To me, obviously, the turf has been the big turnaround for her, and she's gone longer in 2 turns in her last couple efforts. Something else to point out that we haven't seen her since late May. The barn on a layoff of anywhere from 2 to 6 months is 42% from a sample size of 12. So I saw 6 to 1 on the morning line and saw that stat, so had to use it.
Well, the number 4, I'm going to try to run through. Did you see my lips move?
I know. Oh, my gosh.
Is a half sister to $780,000 earner Conquest Tsunami, wheeling back, raced greenly and finished 5th behind those top 2 horses last time out. So the top 2 that I used, Free Data and Maria's Revenge, and so did you. And you know, it's Saffie Joseph Jr., Edwin Gonzalez, the daughter of Nyquist by Uncle Mo. I think this horse has a reason to take a jump forward today.
Yeah, and I think the 5/8 distance on debut was probably too short for her. So now her second time going long, that certainly can help her improve.
You didn't see my lips move, did you?
I wasn't trying to look.
8th race on the turf, about 7.5 furlongs. Claim is 3, 4 and up. Non-winners of 3. 12.5 down to 10,000. Scratch the 4 and 11. Once again, not a lot of scratches on the card, especially in the Rainbow Six situation. And I went with the one we'll start it with, Spend Benjamins, who's dropping to the 12 level, breaking from the rail today with the tactical speed. Needed to use inside draw to his advantage. I'm not crazy about the inside post going 7.5, but Kelsey Danner has Angel Arroyo top. This son a competitive edge. I kept trying, Ashley, to find the speed of the speed in this race, and I think maybe Starship Benjamin's going to be on the engine.
Yeah, when you go down the page and you look at his last win, he took them gate to wire. He got to the inside. He was on the inside, was able to draw clear. So he's getting the rail again today, and he's getting class relief. This is the lowest tag he's been in for his career so far.
Well, here's where we differ a lot. I don't have your 6 horse on my ticket. 10 to 1 on the morning line. I'm liking that. Mr. Donzella.
I'm going with the price here because I feel like, and I'm sure you agree in a lot of ways, Ron, and these 12.5, you either see a favorite or you see a long shot. So I'm going to go with a price here. Mr. Donzella last time out faced tougher competition, going a mile and a 16th, but 2 starts back, tried to walk it on the front end, ended up 6th, though, beaten by 2.5. This is another horse who's getting significant class relief. I mean, when you look at this horse in January and March, had some nice races, won in after facing winners for the first time, was able to win again. So I think the class relief should help. Edwin Gonzalez had piloted him 3 starts back. I know it was on the dirt, but it's a pretty okay performance. The winner was run away, but this one was clear of the rest of the field. So I like the price. I'm going to go with it.
Well, well, we both have Cole Bros on our ticket here, stepping up to the next level. Last time broke from the rail, duel throughout and held on gamely to beat those 2 lifetime claimers for Joe Orsino. Miguel Vasquez going 2 in a row. Here's where it is. I don't think Cole Brothers, at least on my figures, is fast enough to run with Starship Benjamins. I might be wrong in that spot, so I backed off this horse. I almost put the 3 on top for that reason.
Yeah, I don't think he's fast. I mean, I just think when you look at Spend Benjamins, he's been such a 5/8 horse for so long, and he's been not necessarily making the lead every time, but he's been close to it in several starts. So I think Cole Bros is not going to be able to make the lead in here. Maybe they'll change strategies. Maybe we'll be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time, but it was a good win for him last time out. It was a big group in there. He was able to get forwardly placed. Typically, he's not that close to the pace. He's maybe in the third or fourth position early on and trying to make up ground. So it was just a different version of him that we saw.
Yeah, how many times have we said, well, this horse is going to the lead, and then the horse comes from
There you go, lock right there.
And then they go flying late. So my little bit of a price rate real quick, it was Treasure Run, who's cutting back to 7.5, returned from the layoff in Henry Colazzo barn, stalked the pace and held on to Springer. 52-1 upset last time out. I think the 5-year-old seems almost the same pace scenario that afforded him that upset victory. I don't think this horse is good. Maybe not win, but could be somewhere on the try or super ticket. Now you got to take 8-1 this afternoon.
Well, when you look at him, his last race, he actually went faster than Colbrosa in his last race, right? And this was first kind of a bit of a freshening, but prior to that, when he was in the barn of Henry Colazzo, he was able to break his maiden going a mile. It was a similar performance. It just comes down to pace in here, and I think he's going to have some pressure on the front end, but we'll see what he can do. I don't think, when you look at him, he was 52-1 last time out, but Henry Colazzo had done good things with him before.
Yeah, 52-1. We're not going to get that this afternoon. Henry doesn't start a lot of horses, but over the last few weeks, his horses have been running exceptionally well. Race 9, 6 furlongs, maiden special weight, state bred 2-year-olds, full field of 9 to kick off our late pick 4, and Ashley has her ticket right now.
Yeah, looking at this sequence, I go 3 deep in here. Spectacular, obviously, just as a second and third under his belt so far. He does look tough in here, but I also use 2 first-time starters, the number 5, Bird Note, and the 4, Our Big G. Race 10, I spread in here. It's 5 furlongs on the turf. I used Captain Ron. I had to. Nameplate right there. The Virginian, as well as the number 8, Graceful Kitten, a price in there, and the 9, Discreet Tune. And then, unlike you, Ron, I'm singling. I had to make a single in this sequence. I went the 5, Sound Machine, in the sheer drama. And then to wrap things up, because I had the single, I could get some coverage in here. I used the 3, Montana Man, the number 5, Mr. Axel, 4-1 on the morning line, my top pick in that race, as well as the 9, Catching Fish, and the 10, Marissa's Mission.
$24, and you're absolutely right. Sound Machine, I'm thinking of, with the mandatory payout, if I could beat that horse, I can get a nice payout, especially if, the form for races proved to be formful, and maybe I get a shot there. Same thing, I went deeper in, in the other races too early on. Well, getting back to this race, the number 1 I went with, and you did too, Spectacular, who's a half-brother to a horse called 1,000 Words, who actually won the Grade 2 Los Alamitos Futurity at age 2. So do you think this horse would be a little precocious? Breaks from Rail looking to prove on their pair of second-place finishes behind that next out stakes winner.
Yeah, and you mentioned
Magic.
Yeah, and you mentioned 1,000 Words being the half, but the mare Pomeroy's Pistol, that's a name that probably rings a bell. Won the Forward Gal, also won the Sugar Swirl, and was second in the test. So pedigree's there. The siblings have run well. I actually tried to beat this horse in here, but I think it's tough when you look at the winners. Obviously, King Cab took some respect and didn't have everything pan out in the Florida Sire Stakes, but who did this one have to face in the debut? Cajun's Magic, who's run really well since breaking the maiden.
Well, you went with Bird Note, who I have a little further down on my ticket in second.
Yeah, this one's out of the Bob Hess Jr. barn. I just saw some bullet works there. They've tried different things, anywhere from 3 to 5 furlongs in those last 4 drills, and I think the times have been respectable. Sammy Camacho, kind of looking at the duo here with Bob Hess Jr. and Sammy, they're 21% at the meet here, so I liked seeing that. I thought that was maybe a plus, and 4-1, maybe a price.
Yeah, a little bit of a price. Now, the number 4, Our Big G, you think that's Our Big Georgina? I'm taking a guess. Not that she's big at all. She's beautiful. I'm just saying maybe they named
they named her after.
Yeah, they name all their stuff the big or the R and everything. And this one is has a strong 30. She has a strong 33% win average with her freshman runners. Jose Morelos a little underrated, but he's a pretty good rider.
Yeah, he's been riding really well. I thought the interesting thing is it's going to be their first time teaming up this year, so I wasn't sure what to make of that. But this one was a $40,000 purchase, and Georgina Baxter, Alvarell Racing, they've had a great year so far. So one that you certainly have to use somewhere in your tickets.
Well, the number 7, Mr. Rum Runner, who you have a little further down, we basically got the same super boxed around. It's the son of Uncaptured, debuting for Patrick Bean Cohn. Solid workout showing and preparation. Romero Mirage in the saddle. And as you mentioned just earlier, this barn's sort of been going, Patrick Cohn, they've been going pretty good.
Yeah, I just think when it came down, when you looked at the rest of the field, this is one that might have a shot. We talked about some of the 2-year-olds a couple weeks ago for the barn, the first-time starters. They ran really well. I think they had a winner and a second from 2 on the same day, and they were workmates. I just thought kind of with the trend, you have to use it.
Race 10 this afternoon, 5 furlongs on the turf allowance, optional claimer, 3-year-olds and up, optional tag 25, Captain Ron on my ticket and top. And this is the first time I picked this horse. I always tried not to pick Captain Ron, but I just thought returning from the layoff, looking at it, he's got a really consistent local record, 5 wins from 16 starts, and really good at the distance, 7 wins from 18 starts. Rohan Crichton has the 8-year-old working well for the return. Lots of things to like, I think.
Really well. The last 2 works, 47 over the good track and then 47 and 3 breezing from the gate. His record, his resume speaks for him. I think he's got some early foot. He doesn't need the lead, though. We actually see him typically close from off the pace, so I'm not really worried about the trip. Edwin Gonzalez, rail. I used him on top as well.
The number 2, the Virginia, turning back to his best distance. 8 starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, a third. Hit the board in 1 of 2 turf outings going a mile for Steve Caceres. He's pretty good with that route to sprint angle.
I was disappointed in the performance last time out. I thought on the stretch out to the mile, it was a really good effort 2 starts back when he was second at 24-1. We all kind of jumped on the train the next start. And he did have some troubles in there, but I still thought he would have at least maybe been in the top 4. I will say he faced some nice horses, Freedom Matters, and then Tune In Coffee Bean, which we know both of them. I'm a big fan of Tune In. Coffee Bean beats me all the time, but they both came back next time out to win. So I use them in here. New rider today, Christian Torres.
Let's go to our co-feature event of the afternoon, 7 furlong state bred fillies and mastery and up, $75,000, the sheer drama. You mentioned Sound Machine. Let's go back and revisit this horse's start when it won against state-bred competition, and that was the Musical Romance. And there you see this horse is a number 2 horse, a really nice performance. The C's parted there, and this horse found that inside shot, but just pulled away. It was very impressive. And boy, last race, when you finish behind CC and the Princess Rooney, you're doing all right.
You're doing okay, I think. It was a career best buyer for her last time out. But speaking about this race that we're showing right now, Musical Romance, I thought it was a good performance from her. She hadn't been to the winner's circle since January of 2020. She kind of always been there, but confidence boosting, and that served well for them in the Princess Rooney, going 7/8, which is the same distance as this race. I mean, to be third against that caliber, she was 22-1. I thought it was great, and she seems to be training well since that big effort.
Well, the number 2 horse in here, Sonar, is hoping to find our way to the winner's circle today in the first start since shipping up to Monmouth. But that was on a muddy track, and if you look at her past performances, every time she runs on a wet track, she doesn't fare that well.
Yeah, she's only got 1 third-place finish from 4 starts, and they shipped her out of town. She's getting back here now to Gulfstream Park since joining the barn of Carlos David. Prior to that was 2 for 4 in terms of wins, 3 for 4 in the money. The only bad performance from her was in the Grade 3 Hurricane Birdie, and who was second there, Sound Machine. But Sonar has beaten her. We saw that on February 28th. So these horses kind of have squared off a bunch. Sonar's beaten several in here as well. So this is one that I used in the second spot. I think probably the most likely of the next rivals to maybe beat Sound Machine.
Well, if you look at the 8 horse who you have in third and I have at second, Brambleberry, second to Sound Machine in that race we showed you, Musical Romance, renews the rivalry today after rallying to defeat those optional claimers going 3/4. So Kent Sweezy, really good winning consecutive races. This horse has proven it could run with Sound Machines. Got that win, Edwin Gonzalez in the saddle.
Can't say what I want to say because we're on TV, but I will say 2 starts back, that was one heck of a race from her because she was forwardly placed. She had gone to the lead in there, and she set some decent fractions for herself. I mean, she went 22-2, 45 to the half. That's faster than she had been going previously. She hung around for second. She was clear of the third-place finisher, and then she won in her most recent start.
Just 1 second, I want to talk about Starship Bonita. This one from the Steve Dwoskin barn, 20-1 on the morning line. Cruise down at past performances when you're putting your ticket. She won this race back in 2018, sneaky in there at 20-1. The last race this afternoon is about 7.5 furlongs. These are claimers 3 and up, 3 or 4-year-olds and up, non-winners of 2. I went with the number 10 on top, Marissa's Mission. We'll quickly show you this horse's last race from the 8th pole home when she edges away to score. I thought it was a pretty nice performance. She's going to step up and turn back today to 7.5, but I thought this was a pretty nice race. And, you're going to get a little bit of a price today.
Yeah, I think you will get a price. It was a good performance from her. It was only her second time facing winners, and she was going from 7.5 prior to a mile and a 16. So I like the way she won. It was a field of 8, and she just seemed game in the end.
Yeah, you did a good performance. Now, who did you put on top, Montana Man?
No, I went to the number 5, Mr. Axel, out of the Michelle Nehigh barn, who was third last time out behind Diligent in the North Remembers. The North Remembers won here yesterday on the card. And I think looking at that race, that was at the 12-5 level, was a pretty good performance, closing from off the pace. I think when you go down the page, this horse figures in here. I know it's looking for the first win here locally over the Gulfstream Park turf course, and maybe that's why I'll get some value.
Catching Fish, this is your game. You're the only 3-time winner in the field.
Man, Catching Fish was a nice winner last time out. Was able to win at 6-1, 12-5 level, going 7.5, and actually 2 for 5 here over the Gulfstream Park turf course. He is a little consistent, but I think at this sort of level, we saw 3 starts back when he was in for 16. He fared well. So I thought, last time out I used him because he was dropping in class.
The number 3 Montana Man is cutting back slightly after returning from a really extended layoff. And I thought this horse ran better than it might look on paper. Went fourth against this level of competition, going a mile. Happy Alter, Lionel Reyes in the saddle again. Not a bad performance by this horse.
No, not at all. Ran a 71 buyer, beaten by less than 2. My question and my reservation here, which is why I used him underneath, is that was a really good performance, in my opinion, first off the long layoff of 13 months. But prior to the layoff, he was facing tougher competition. I mean, he faced Gufo in one of his races here in March of 2020. So I don't know. Did it take something out of him? Is he going to need a couple races to kind of recover from that big performance first off the layoff? Who knows? But I still used him in here based on his back class.
Well, that leaves us some time. We got a really nice lightning round to look at this afternoon before we turn it over to Pete Aiello. And a good friend of mine, a good friend to racing in South Florida, Phil Gleaves, has decided to retire. And Phil, winner of 4,178 races. He won the Travers with Wise Times. He's just a great guy, and we always jokingly called him the fifth Beatle, and his claim to fame, too. He was a longtime assistant to one and only Woody Stevens.
And he was just a great trainer in his own right. I mean, you don't win 4,178 races from pure luck. He was a great horseman, and he's going to leave the sport, but I hope he still stays involved somehow.
Well, we got some of our fantastic horses that ran at Gulfstream Park also retiring. One of those is going to be Zulu Alpha, and we're going to go back and visit this one, winning the Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf. Here is going to retire now. This was just such a great performance back in 2020.
I'll never forget this. This is my first Pegasus. I got to work with you and Acacia and Jason, and one of my good friends here, Dan Torgman, was set up, and he needed this horse. He was alive to a lot of money. Kind of an upset there, but this horse was very talented. We mentioned Zulu Alpha retiring, Phil Gleaves. I think yesterday was just retirement day. So kept on going through Twitter, and some other big horses retired as well.
Well, we got a couple of horses that are not retiring. Gulfstream horses are going to go up and see if they can win some races up in Kentucky Downs, and one of them is Shifty She, and this one won the Ginger Punch and the Powder Break. She's entered in the Grade 3 Ladies Turf. We're going to just revisit her last race when she won the Ginger Punch.
This is a huge performance. Was favored in there and just game to the end. You can see on the inside there, the one at 4-5 was able just to keep on going here. Had to hold off some nice horses that were closing late, but this is a really talented horse, and excited to see what this one does at Kentucky Downs.
Owned by our buddy Chris Pallas, who Dave always teases you about. What? You say that? He always gives you that. That's what Chris does. I'm doing a bad imitation of that. Then a fantastic horse. Boy, this one is a little star-crossed, and that is Imprimis, who's the defending champ in the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint. We're going to go back and revisit that performance back in 2020 when this horse runs. Irad Ortiz will be in the saddle today, so a good performance. And Imprimis always seems to get in some kind of trouble, not in this particular race.
No, not in this one, but you mentioned that he does get himself into trouble. We joked about it yesterday in the office. Let's see if he doesn't get into trouble today, but the talent is certainly there, and that race is great. We have some other horses that we're kind of looking at. One of our office favorites, Diamond Oops, is in there. Watched a really nice interview yesterday with Andy Biancone on Twitter, so a lot of Gulfstream Park representing at Kentucky Downs today.
Yeah, Andy loves that horse, so that's her favorite horse, Diamond Oops, and that horse has done nothing wrong. Won a lot of great races, Grade 2s, and was Grade 1 stakes place. So it's going to be a great day here, a great day in Kentucky Downs with our horses only. That's all we're rooting for up in Kentucky Downs, because we got to pay attention to the mandatory payout here.
Yeah, I need to start putting my ticket together right now.
Good luck, everybody.